we didn't really want to go anyways. But now I have a free afternoon and 1,000 things I need to get done. So what should I work on during this time? The way I used to do it was spend the entire afternoon trying.
Tonight, a hazard in the air. Thick gray and orange smoke billows from a chemical facility in Conyers, Georgia, after a fire today forcing nearby residents to evacuate.
Please spread the word to stay away from this area at this point. The interstate, as you can see, is backed up.
Shelter in place. Keep your doors and windows closed. In the event the wind shift, this thing can change really quickly.
Officials say around 5 a.m. today, as employees were inside, a sprinkler malfunctioned, causing a chemical to start the blaze, which is now out and was contained to the roof.
I do not know the specific type of chemical, but only that it is water reactive.
The company saying in a statement, our team is on the scene, working with first responders and local authorities to assess and contain the situation. No one was injured. The Environmental Protection Agency is now conducting air monitoring. Law enforcement pulling out respirators as a precaution. This isn't the first chemical scare at the biolab facility that manufactures pool and spa products, according to the U.S. Chemical Safety Board. In 2020, a plume of hazardous chemicals was released.
Since I've been a part of Rockdale County for 7 years, this is probably the third incident of this magnitude.
No timetable yet on when the area will be safe. Dana Griffin, NBC News.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.
Thanks, Don. We'll do our best to keep things updated here. And thank you, Sally. We'll take it from here. You've just listened to one of many actual occasions that are connected to low consciousness human activity. It is what's on the news, and if anything is stimulant to start up this channel of passage of the formulation of the meme, it is this cue to get started. And what the project is based around is an explanatory power to delineate what is happening and why it's happening, and it's happening, period. To give a sound, or rather cohesive understanding that shares in relationship with the direct experience of reality, to remodify each or every person's receptivity to their observance. And their receptivity purely meaning they have a adequate understanding of the situation, enough that they can make an informed decision. The beginning is an explanation of the world, the explanation of the happening, the explanation of what it means to be occupied in the human experience, to be participants with humanity, to see what they do, to experience what they project, and to observe the mystery of the world. The explanation starts here. Difficult to read from such distances, but accommodate the inconvenience. Before time period is what is illustrated here, is the period where one is not in participation, one is not a part of participation in human or worldly experience. It lays simply in a realm of potential. After death period is a different environment, though it shares a similarity with the before death environment milieu, but yet it's separate because it has been altered by the constraints of time, the constraints spoken of earlier, that yours experience of the world is not much different than anyone else's. Love affairs, trials, tribulations, up your pride, down of your pride, jealousy, greed, envy, divorces, conflicts, interpersonal disputes, falling in love, and such many infinite list of things that one experiences once they're apart, and then depending on other factors. They have been altered by that change, and then they are in the after-death environment. But through this passage of before death to after death, one is a product of your time, one is a product of their time, and time is what differentiates. It allows not everything to happen at once. Being is becoming, and time differentiates. And in each period where one is alive, they go through the experiences of their time, of their culture, and from there they have a different review analysis of reality, still filtering through the personal version of it. And each time it exposes something different about the world, and the difficulty of formulating a cohesive understanding is due to the limitations of sensation, not knowing far back deep empirically, and not knowing too far forward deep empirically, but only being most updated in the present and in the present moment, after death and before death. And through this, and through the orthogonal rather to the axis of infinity to infinity is one's movement through time, where they have been receptive to, where they have been through the procedures of three-dimensional transmission, especially for humans, being your higher animals, they're receptive to a locals or third party or transcendental, to their specific biology that emergently produces this sensation of higher consciousness, at least a differentiated consciousness. Also to biology and transcending in the logos, and also then in local terms they are in interaction with the parent class, their primary circle, and also in relationship with the culture, with the village, with the environment, with their friends and their friends' parents, and so forth. And there's the interplaying and interlocking of influences, because each variable in this web diagram is a subject in the three-dimensional transmission that permeates the three-dimensional web diagram. And he goes through time and he forms an analysis of it, and he leaves behind a scar chain of actual occasions. And these actual occasions are what you're also familiar with, overlapping in the category of love affair, jealousy, rainy days, ruined picnic, lost chances, great opportunity, hitting the mark, missing the mark, and it goes on. And each leave a scar of actual occasions as they were going through that, as they were going through the motions of their own, of their individual experience. Your scar represents something about them. It represents the purpose. The purpose is what the thing is. The purpose of something is what it is, and they're inextricably coupled that way. And then that's also permission to support free will in how man trajects towards the after now. But free will is secondary to a question, and that's how much self-control does the agent have in experiencing the arena. And depending on self-control as a real measure of one's conscientiousness, meaning they're able to instantiate certain actual occasions and omit certain actual occasions at the expense of it not being in your best interest. And usually the congregation of these individuals giving attributes and accolades of virtue and courageous and ascetic now create a different scar path of actual occasions. So then that's what's happening in modifying what the review of reality could be, depending on how they are oriented to the world. And then from that orientation, it's not too far from those who are followers of divine texts and revelations, because so through in man's common denomination, his common denominator is that he wants to have structure that sets him up for the best possible future. He wants to have structure that sets him up for the best possible future. Religion offers that in one form, and other mediums offer that certain very exclusive genres that he's dealing with his motivation coach. He's dealing with his life coach. He's dealing with his personal trainer, and he also goes to church to get his bishop and pastor to preach over him, and he goes in all the places to be transformed differently. He wants structure that replicates in certain actual occasions. Is what that is. Here is the chain of actual occasions that is indicative of a certain type, and still the world is indifferent to what happens to it. Bad things happen to the good and virtuous, and good things happen to the unrighteous and the deleterious and the worst amongst them. The world is a form for action. It itself is value free. The game is anybody's. And then the game is anybody's, but there is a implication that man is fancy for the meme, and there's a certain meme where if understanding is disclosed well enough, it will result in belief. That goes in preposition and combats in belief. And this dialectic is applying from a principle, is going from the principle to the personality, and then back to the principle for the principle to evaluate the response, and then recirculate or continue the process. And this one mode is result in belief, the love of the meme and the love of the truth that man is receptive to, is part of the process of stage transitioning, rather. The snippet that precipitated this explanation, this so-called explanation, is just one of the of events that are reflecting the polycrisis, and it has many roots and diverge in different directions, and diverse in different directions. And there's the genius of the West, and there's the genius of the ones that follow STEM and are weird, or even Eastern, or all the ones that understand the world from this perspective, whether you're dealing with science, technology, engineering, and math, and the weird, the westernized, so forth, industrial nations, educated, rich, industrial, democratic nations. And there is the congregation of, because man exists here, he exists here, he exists as particles, he exists as cells, and he's scattered upon the face of the globe. And in different pockets, there are different, what you could call opportunities, and he congresses depending in these different pockets of the globe. He's as particles, he's impressionable, he can be influenced, such and such. And there is also there is also a truthfulness, and that it comes in something of opportunity, for the reason that man trades himself for this, not being the central theme, just using that as a stepping stone to point this out, and point out why such things happen, to give further account of the world as it discloses itself in the daily images of eternity. That man is in participation, because in participation he's under the constraints of existence. Being under the constraints of existence bring upon itself the unique constituent of this order of magnitude of reality, and it precisely in this way is able to be coordinated depending on how one orients and attends to the world. And attending to the world immediately goes to what the rest of the model is divulging, and it gets into the gospel of Eden, and it gets into the process of the process of progress towards finding perfection, or finding resolution, or finding equilibrium that is evident in tranquility of his populace. And that means there's that certain place, that certain mode, and in the habit of engineering and building community wherever it would be possible, is in building this community that is adequate to sustain what needs to be for the right things to continue happening for most people most of the time. And there is that middle ground in the fact that man in his cellular communication. He knows when to go and knows when to stop. In the same way, he drives with his neighbor without separate traffic rules. He can still coordinate himself in a community without separate rules, that are objective guides to behavior, because he has a common goal. But in his common goal is counter, and it's in contradiction, causing his cognitive dissonance to his common enemy. His common enemy is multiple fold. It's outside influences. It's the percentage of will that his base desires has over his exertion. He exerts his agency, and in further contemplation, he regrets exerting his agency. In that way, he regrets past action. And these are all reminiscent of man at a certain time thinking a certain way, because man, just in the categories of his attributes is ingenuity. Life finds a way, and it uses the present availability as a vessel. Because one is the few of any that are receptive, or rather that are available for the receptivity or to be transmitted to, then it opens him, because he's also the measure of all things, what can be, what will be. He's given dominion. He has dominion over the world. He has dominion over the works of the prime mover. And then next, that will be described further in this theory and explanation of things and how they happen over time.